Good afternoon, everyone. Let's see. May nanood na ba? Hello. Yung mga nanonood dyan, gahay naman kayo para alam natin may tao. Good afternoon, CJ. Hello. How are you guys? Hello. Oh, we have someone from Australia. Hi. Welcome. Say hi to each other, people who joined the contest, para at least medyo kakilala kayo. Hello. Okay. All right. Um, there's there's some delay maybe in the stream, so a few seconds delay. Um, so I might not be able to answer your questions immediately, but just ask if something's not clear, if my voice becomes too soft or something. Just comment in the comments in the live chat in YouTube or comment on Facebook. I'll be checking both. Uh, yeah, So just keep those questions coming. I will answer them as soon as I see them, but there will be some delay. Uh, okay, before we start, uh, I can stream in either English or Filipino, so I would like to know which language do you guys prefer? Do you prefer English, Filipino, Tagalog? I mean, di ako marunong mag-Cebuano, so sorry. Or, yeah, other Filipino dialects. Okay, both. Crystal says both. So, I guess Taglish ako kung kailan convenient mag-Tagalog. Magtatagalog ako. Kung may hindi nakakaintindi ng Tagalog sa chat, sa stream, sabihin nyo lang ah. Okay, so I guess we can officially start now. Yes, CJ, hindi pa ako nag-introduce myself. Okay, so we can start now officially. Hello, my name is Vernon. I'm Vern Guts on Code Forces. So if you went to the contest, you should see that I'm the guy who prepared the contest. That's me. Um, I'm one of the people who organized the National Olympiad, and I'm professor at Ateneo. Okay, lecturer is the more uh, correct term because I don't have a PhD. But anyway, I teach in Ateneo. Uh, right. So, hello everyone. Kamusta? How did you guys find the problems? Okay naman. Too easy, too hard? Okay, problem 2 is pain. Well, sige. So that's what this discussion is for. Um, para yung mga problems na feeling nyo like pain will not be so painful anymore after this discussion. And hopefully, next time, gagaling kayo pag nag-join kayo ulit sa future rounds. Some problems that you feel are hard right now, hopefully will not feel so hard anymore after you see the tricks behind the problems. Okay? So let's start. Alright. So let's start with problem A, active lifestyle. Okay, ano ba yung problem sa problem A? Well, it's not so complicated. Basically, you're given a number, tapos you just want to know if it's even or odd. Pag even, you print exercise. Pag odd, you print relax. Right? So, paano yun? Well, paano malaman kung ang isang number ay even or odd? You may have learned in school that you can check if a number is even or odd by checking the last digit, right? So, kung yung last digit ay 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, then it's even. Okay, kung 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and it's odd, right? And you can actually write code that implements this logic. Let me show you. Okay, so the first thing that you need in this problem is to read the input, right? So, day, sabihin natin is input. And what I can do is, since I want to check the last digit, I'm not going to convert it to a number so that I can treat it as a string and then get the last character in that string. Right? So I can do this. If day, the last character in a string is len day minus 1. Okay, I can do this if the last character is 0 or, we copy that, 2, 4, 6, or 8. Then I'll print exercise. Otherwise, I'll print relax. Okay, I'll stop to read the comments first. Let's see. May mga comments ba? Okay, that's one way you can do it, and I can run this to show you that it works. But you notice that it's kind of ugly. Right. Okay, pangit siya. You have to type all of this in. There are some tricks you can do in Python that will make your life a bit easier. So let me show them first. So first is, if you want to get the last item in a list or string, whatever, may shortcut. Pwede kang mag ganito, negative index. This is only in Python, by the way. In C++ and Java, well, you have no choice. You have to do it the long way. Pero in Python, it's a bit more convenient. So, kung pabilis pag mag-code, you have to type fewer things. So, pwede nyo gawin to. -1. Right? Ano ibig sabihin ng negative index sa Python? Kukunin niya yung last ith character from the back, or ith item from the back, where I is the number you put here. Tapos start counting from 1, yung pabaliktad, para kasi walang -0. Okay, so you can do that. One other trick you can do is, well, you can do this. Okay? Anong ginagawa niyan? Ano yung in sa Python? In just checks, is this item inside this string or list or whatever? Right? Anything that's a container of other items, you can put here. Tapos, pag sinabi mong, if A and B, you're checking, is this item inside this other item, inside this container. So, imbis na mag-or ka na marami, you can do this. Right? Okay, so my comments, FPQber says you can do day.back in C++, I believe, yeah. Kung vector yung day sa C++, you can do day.back. Pag string, I think you can also do day.back. So may shortcut din sa C++. Sa Java, wala yata, I'm not sure. Okay, so Virtual Horizon says, my question, just go ahead. Okay, yung question is, do we use Python or C++ in this contest? Okay, actually, walang limitation sa Codeforces. You can submit using any language you want na supported sa Codeforces. Okay? So, if you're familiar with C++ more or Python more, use whichever languages you're more comfortable with. Pero syempre, kung magdi-discuss tayo dito, hindi tayo pwedeng one discussion for every programming language. The stream will take too long. So we're just gonna stick to Python in this stream. Dahil mas convenient lang mag-explain ng solution sa Python. And mas maganda ng konti yung syntax. Okay, pero will actually, most of the things that I'm gonna say in this stream, you can apply the same logic to whatever programming language. It's actually not very important what programming language you use. Okay, that's not entirely true. I'll say something more about that later. Pero sige, hindi masyadong important actually yung programming language. Ang gusto kong makuha nyo sa stream na to is paano mag-isip, ano yung tamang logic. And that's the important thing, right? And then once you have that, you can easily learn any programming language you want and apply the same kind of thinking, the same logic, mostly. Okay. So I'm showing a few Python tricks kasi there are some people in the stream who use Python, and this will make their life a bit easier. Pero yes, I'm going to try to keep the Python tricks to a minimum, especially for the harder problems. So mostly language agnostic, pero may mga konting tricks here and there na language specific. Okay? Yeah. Sinabi ko hindi masyadong important yung language, pero in real life, it's actually kind of important. Okay, in real life, it's actually really important. In competitive programming, it's kind of important kasi Python is a lot slower than C++ by default. So most people actually use C++ in competitive programming just because it's faster. Okay, pero if you're a beginner, bago lang kayo, hindi kayo masyadong sanay pa mag-program, tapos hindi nyo alam anong programming language ba dapat aralin nyo, I would recommend mag-Python muna kayo ng konti just so you get the feel for how to program. Medyo mas madali, mas beginner-friendly kasi yung Python. Tapos pag medyo sanay na kayo mag-program, nakuha nyo na yung parang how to think logically part, tsaka kayo mag-change ng language into C++ later on. And you'll find it's not super hard if you do it that way. Okay? Okay, so balik tayo sa problem. So this is not the normal way you would check if a number is even or odd. Kasi medyo mas magulo siya. What if binago ko yung problem? Kunwari, Abby now wants to exercise on all days that are divisible by 3 or by 7, right? Hindi masyadong practical yung ganito kasi wala namang rule sa divisible by 3 or divisible by 7 that you can just check the last digit tapos malalaman mo na kung divisible by 3 or 7, right? So, what do you do instead? Okay, in most programming languages, there's another operator called modulo. Ito yung tsura niya. In Python, C++, and Java, you type it using percent sign. Okay, anong ginagawa niyan? So, alam niyo, di ba, may 4 basic operations. May addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. And you might have learned this in your programming classes sa school. May plus, minus, or pag nag-aral kayo sa internet, makikita niyo to. Okay? Okay, actually, yung division, sa totoo lang, ano yan eh, hindi lang isang operation yan. Parang dalawang operations talaga yan. Diba? Kasi pag nag-divide ka ng number, let's say, sinabi mo, 5 divided by 2. 5 divided by 2 is 2, tapos may remainder 1. So actually, dalawa yung sagot sa division operation. You have the quotient and the remainder. So the thing is, kaya sa programming, dalawa yung operators para sa division, actually. Okay, may division, tapos may modulo. Division, itong divide, will give you the quotient, and then this thing will give you the remainder. Okay, so paano ko gagamitin yung modulo? So first, I now need to read the input as int. Tapos, pag int na yung input, pwede akong okay, what is the remainder if my day is divided by 2? Right? So kung yung day divided by 2 ay 0, means the number is even. Right? Pag the remainder is 1, then it's odd. Okay? And this works for any kind of divisor. Right? So kung gusto mo divisible by 3, palitan mo lang divisible by 5, 7, whatever. Right? Okay? Okay? Okay. May sinabi ako, sabi ko, dalawa yung division. May dalawa actually yung operators for division. May divide, may modulo. Actually, tatlo sa Python. May isa pa, may ganyan. Pero mamaya natin pag-usapan sa problem B. Kasi dun importante yung yung double divide na yan. Okay, ano to, weird, di ba? Pero may something there. Okay, but for now, okay, ito muna yung kailangan nyo. Okay? So, one other thing is, para sa mga nanood na hindi nakuha yung problem, remember, bago kayo mag-submit, mag-test kayo ng problem, ng solutions nyo. Di ba? Huwag kayong mag-submit ng code na hindi nyo man lang tinest. Kasi malamang mali yun. Okay? So, that's one thing. Every time nakita nyo sa stream, every time I change something, tinest ko, gumagana ba talaga? Okay? Yeah. The other thing is, ito medyo mas specific sa competitive programming ito. May mga hindi nakakuha ng solution kasi nag-add sila ng ganyan. Input, please input the day. Okay, or something like that, may prompt. Okay, tapos pag nirun nyo yan, okay, mukhang tama naman, please input the day to exercise. Okay, please input the day 31. Okay, relax. Okay, mukhang tama yung code, tama yung logic actually, sa totoo lang. Pero bakit pag sinabit nyo to, bakit wrong answer? Diba? May mga gumawa ba yun? Tapos nagulat kayo, bakit wrong answer? Tama naman yung ginawa ko. Okay, siguro, nung natuto kayo mag-program in your classrooms or online, when you read about the input command, yung mga sample na nakita nyo will have something like this para mapakita sa user, may friendly user interface yung gamit ng program ito. Makita nila may message, please input today. Right? Hindi nyo kailangan yan gawin sa competitive programming. And actually, pag ginawa nyo yan, mali yung sagot nyo. Okay, bakit? Kasi, yung mga nagja-judge ng programs nyo, konti lang, tapos 100 yung contestants. Sa mas malaking contest, 1,000, 10,000 yung contestants. Konti lang yung judges, mga 5 judges lang. Hindi nila kayang i-test yung programs nyo manually. So the judges are not going to read your code one by one and then test it one by one like I'm doing here. And they're not going to give the score manually. Masyadong mabagal yun. It's impossible. Okay, so ang ginagawa ngayon sa mga programming contest is computer yung nag-check ng sagot nyo. Okay, may automatic judging na nangyayari. Okay, paano nangyayari yun? Bakit ang talino naman ng computer, kaya niyang makaintindi ng code na sinulat nyo? Okay, hindi. So the way it works is, yung judges, nag-prepare sila ng test cases in advance. Yung mga ibang test cases na yun, pinakita sa inyo as samples. Pero, aside from the samples, may mga hidden test cases. So makikita nyo, yung mga iba, siguro nakita nyo, wrong answer on test 5 or something. Kasi meron pang extra test cases, kahit 3 lang yung test cases na nakita nyo sa problem. Okay? So yun, yung mga judges, nag-prepare sila ng test cases in advance. Tapos, anong ginawa nila? Sinabi nila, kung ito yung input, dapat ito yung output. Para sa lahat ng test cases. Kung ito yung input, dapat yun yung output. Tapos, yung computer, automatically, i-run yung program nyo, one by one, sa lahat ng test cases. Tapos, titingnan niya yung output ng program nyo for each of those test cases, tapos ima-match niya. Right? So, ganito ang itsura nun. Change my view. Para sa mga hindi pa sanay, kailangan nyo maintindihan to. Pero once nyo lang naman iintindihan, tapos okay na kayo. Okay? Medyo, parang strange thing about competitive programming, pero kailangan nyo lang masanay, tapos okay na kayo. Okay? So, ganito yung itsura. Ito yung program nyo. Yung mga judges, nag-prepare na sila in advance. Okay? May case na 2, may case na 31, may case na 5, may case na 16, may case na 7, whatever. Okay? Tapos, dapat, expected, uh, exercise, tapos relax, tapos relax, tapos exercise, tapos relax. Tapos ang gagawin ng computer, automatically kukunin niya yung program nyo. Yung code forces ginagawa ito. Kukunin yung program nyo, i-run with to each input, using each input, tapos kukunin yung outputs, tapos i-compare. Okay? So kunwari, yan yung outputs ng program nyo. When check niya, exercise. Exercise ba yung lumabas? Relax. Relax ba yung lumabas? And so on. And you can imagine, hindi naman masyadong smart talaga yung algorithm na yan. Kayang-kayang gawin ng computer yan. At kaya niyang gawin mabilis yan. Kaya yan yung ginagawa sa programming contest. Para mag-judge kung tama yung sagot o hindi. Right? So kung nag-match lahat, yes, tama yung sagot mo. Kung hindi nag-match, no, wrong answer. Okay? So that's something you need to understand. Automatic yung judging. Okay, why is that important to understand? Kasi, pag bumalik ka dun sa code natin, well, pag sinabi mong input, please input the day, yung please input the day na yan, actually, sasama sa output ng program mo. So, sa totoo lang, yung output ng program mo dito, hindi lang relax. Yung output ng program mo dito is please input the day, tapos relax. Okay, so makikita yun ng judge, ng computer, ng automatic judging program. Makikita niya may extra output na please input the day. Tapos sasabihin niya, oops. Okay, may please output the day dyan. Please, blah, 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 blah. Okay, oops, hindi nag-match. Wrong answer. Okay? So, yun. So, madali lang naman ayusin, which is, huwag na kayong mag-add ng extra prompts dun sa solution nyo. Like this. You can just, huwag na. May blanco lang. Okay lang yan. Hindi naman human yung gagamit ng program nyo anyway. Computer lang for now sa contest setting. Computer lang ang gagamit. So, hindi actually important yung user-friendliness ng program nyo for competitions like this. Okay? So, the important thing that we want to judge in these competitions is, nakuha nyo ba yung logic? Kaya nyo bang mag-implement ng program? Nakuha nyo ba yung tamang solution? It's not so much maganda ba yung code nyo, maganda ba yung user interface. So, hindi kailangan yung mga yun. Okay? So, check ko. May mga comments ba? Yes, tama. Computer kasi yung check. Okay? And may nagsabi, Python is the best possible option. For now, yes, kung beginner kayo, Python. Tapos, pag medyo sanay na kayo, tsaka kayo mag-switch to C++. Okay? Okay, so let's move on to problem B. Bubble sort. Okay. Paano yung problem na yan? Well, actually, may part ng problem which is understanding what the code is. So, may binigay na code sa inyo, di ba? So, ano yung itsura nun? Okay, pulutin natin yung code. Tapos, ito siya. Right? Alam niyo ba kung anong ginagawa ng code na to? Okay? May nakakaalam ba anong ginagawa ng code na yan? Sorts the list. Yes. Okay? It sorts the list and may special function para malaman kung ano yung ibig sabihin ng sorting. Parang ano yung rule para malaman kung ano yung smaller, kung kailan smaller ang isang element than the other inside the list. Okay, right? But that's not important for now. Okay. So kung kahit hindi nyo masyadong naintindihan anong ginagawa ng program na yan, okay lang actually. Ang importante lang naman is the problem is only asking bilangin ilan beses mag-run yung less na function. Right? So tingnan natin ano ba nangyayari sa code na to. So nandito yung less sa baba. Okay? So paano i-solve yung problem na yan? Well, first, hindi na importante ano nangyayari dyan. So, tanggalin nyo muna. And then, well, ilang beses mag-run tong less? Okay? Well, may j dito na loop. Mag-run siya for n minus I minus 1 times. So, ibig sabihin, wait, tanggalin muna natin yan. Hindi na importante yan masyado. So, kunwari ito yung answer mo. Okay. Ibig sabihin, sa loob ng loop na to, yung answer mo will add by n minus I minus 1 times. Right? Okay, so yung mga hindi familiar sa Python, itong for j in range is just Python's way of doing for loop. And then, ano yung values ng counter dun sa for loop. So, j will take 0, 1, 2, up to n minus I minus 1, but not including n minus I minus 1. So, magsa-stop siya sa n minus I minus 2. Okay, pero nag-start siya sa 0. So, the total number of iterations or steps in this loop is n minus I minus 1. Okay, actually bago pala nun, may mas ano, 'di ba? May mas straightforward way para kunin yung answer. Well, every time gumalaw yung loop na yan, syempre mag-run yung less once, so add 1 to the answer. Okay? Pero bakit natin ginawa yan? Bakit natin ginawa yan? Kasi, may time limit yung problem. Ano ibig sabihin ng time limit sa problem? Okay? So, kung makikita nyo dun sa problem, sa taas, dun sa code forces, di ba may nakasulat na time limit per test, 1 second. Okay? Ano ibig sabihin nun? Yung time limit per test, 1 second. It means, mag-run yung automatic judge na sinabi ko kanina, i-run yung program nyo, tapos magta-timer yung computer. For every test case, it will only let your program run for 1 second. Your program is supposed to finish and print out the output within that 1 second. If it doesn't, it means your program is too slow. The computer will stop the execution and you will get time limit exceeded. So, mali. Dahil masyadong mabagal. Okay? So, one thing to note is sa NoiPH tsaka sa competitive programming, importante na mabilis yung programs. Okay? It's not just about is your program correct, but also is your program efficient. Okay? Kasi importante yan sa real life. Kailangan, di ba, mabilis yung programs. Ayaw mo maghintay. Okay? And if you do this, okay, it's gonna be a lot slower kasi you're adding 1 to the answer, 1 by 1. Kaysa pag in-add mo lang yung buong n minus I minus 1. Okay? Pero explain natin exactly paano mo malaman kung mabagal ba or hindi yung program mo. Okay? Pero ayusin muna natin yung program. So, sige, ganito ang mangyayari, di ba? So, the input that you get from this problem is the length of the list. So, yan yung input mo. Right? Tapos, print natin yung answer. Okay? Tapos, testing natin just to make sure na tama. So, ano yung first sample? Sabi, 5. Okay, seems correct. Tapos, the next sample is that's 10 and then 100. So, kung 10 yan, 45, tama. 100, 4950. Okay? So, mukhang tama naman yung program. So, what's the problem if you just submit a program like this? Well, there's one other thing that you might notice in the problem. May nakasulat na ganito. Let me see if I can show that. Mas madali. Okay. Ito yung problem sa code forces, di ba? Tapos, may mapapansin kayo. Okay, dito sa baba, may nakasulat. The length of the input is always between 1 and 10 to the 12. Okay? Ano ibig sabihin ng constraints na to? Kung medyo na-explain ito sa tutorial video, if you watch that. Pero essentially, it's a promise na yung test cases na ibibigay sa program nyo ay between 1 to 10 to the 12 lang. Okay, it's a promise from the judges, from the person who made the problems, na you don't have to handle cases that are where the input is outside of this range. Okay, so kung babalikan nyo yung yung drawing natin kanina, pag sinabi kong the input is guaranteed to be between 1 and 10 to the 12, ibig sabihin, hindi ko itetest yung program nyo on -1. Okay, hindi nyo kailangan, hindi mangyayari yan. So, hindi kailangan ng program nyo i-handle yung -1. Hindi ko rin itetest sa 10 to the 12 plus 1. Hindi mangyayari yan. Okay? So, I don't care what your program does when the input is like this. Hindi yan part ng job nyo. Okay? Ang part ng job nyo lang is gawin tama yung program nyo for everything else. For all lengths between 1 and 10 to the 12. Yan lang. Okay? And you don't have to check the others. Okay, it means also, by the way, na hindi nyo kailangan gawin to. Balik tayo sa code. Hindi nyo kailangan gawin to. Hindi nyo kailangan sabihin, if 1 1 is less than or equal to n and n is less than or equal to 10 to the 12. Then do something. Tapos else, I don't know, print oops or what. Hindi nyo kailangan gawin yan kasi hindi naman ito-test yung program nyo sa cases na wala doon sa constraints. Okay? So why is the constraints there? It's actually to help you so that you know exactly what kind of input you are expecting and you can sort of think about what is the best way to optimize your program optimize your program assuming that the input is only within this range. Okay? Or maybe not only, parang assuming that the input is within this range tapos kailangan yung i-handle pati yung 10 to the 12. Okay, so tingnan natin. Dahil ita-test yung program natin on 10 to the 12, well, it's a good idea actually to test your program on the edge cases. Ano ibig sabihin ng edge cases? Parang yung dulo, parang dulo cases, di ba? Parang kung 1 and 10 to the 12, yung dulo ng constraints, it's a good idea to test for 1 and 10 to the 12. Right? So, test natin to 1. Okay? That makes sense. Tapos, i-test mo rin sa 10 to the 12. So, ano yung 10 to the 12? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. Nakikita nyo ba ano nangyayari? Okay. Ang bagal, di ba? Ano yung time limit sa problem? 1 second. Tagal na, 'di ba? Naka-ilang seconds na tayo. Hindi pa rin tapos yung program. So ano mangyayari dito? Yung computer na nagche-check ng program nyo, sabihin, oops, time's up. 1 second na. Stop the program. Time limit exceeded. Okay? So masyadong mabagal yung program. Nakikita nyo naman, 'di ba? Ano nangyayari? May demo pa nga dito. Diba? Pinapakita niya saan nag-run na yung program ngayon. Paulit-ulit lang siya dito sa 2 statements na to. And it's taking too long. Right? Okay, so how do we fix it? Okay, first of all, we need to understand why is it slow in the first place. Okay, stop na natin kasi hindi yan matatapos. Okay, why is it slow in the first place? Alam niyo ba? Well, di ba pag bumibili kayo ng computers, makikita nyo, oh, may something like, oh, this computer is 3.0 G8Z processor speed, whatever, right? May mga ganyan sa computers kung bumibili kayo. Ano ibig sabihin yan? Okay, G means giga. Hertz means 1 over second. Okay, yung mga nag-aral ng physics, maybe alam nyo to. Pero kung hindi, yan lang talaga ang ibig sabihin niya, 1 over second. Okay, so ano ang giga? Di ba merong kilo, mega, giga. So these are words that you will encounter when you deal with computer systems. And actually sa science, in other sciences, meron din yan. Ang kilo, ibig sabihin, ang mega, ibig sabihin, 10 to the 6. Ang giga, ibig sabihin, 10 to the 9. Right? Or approximately. Kasi sa computers, ang kilo ay 1024 tapos 1024 squared. 1024 cubed. Pero you don't really have to worry about that. Sabihin na lang natin 10 cubed, 10 to the 6, 10 to the 9. For simplicity. Okay, ano ibig sabihin ng 3.0 GHz? Ibig sabihin, your computer can do, this computer can do 10 to the 9 operations in 1 second. Okay, bakit importante yan? Kasi gusto natin mag-estimate gaano ba kabilis or kabagal yung program natin. And yung estimate na yun, magdedepende syempre kung gaano kabilis yung computer. Okay, and most computers nowadays, you can assume, are basically ganito yung speed nila. Okay, you can do 10 to the 9 operations in 1 second. Okay, yan ang speed ng computers today. And let's take it as a fact and use that fact to estimate how slow or how fast is our program. Okay? Okay, actually, yung 10 to the 9 na yan, those are parang actually madaming ginagawa yung computer mo eh. Pag nagsabi ka sa kanya, okay, sa Python, pag sinabi mong ans plus equals 1, for example. Sa totoo lang, maraming nangyayari yan behind the scenes. Okay, anong ginagawa ng computer behind the scenes? Actually, ang gagawin ng computer behind the scenes is, okay, gumawa tayo ng isang 1. One operation yan. Pulutin mo ano yung value ng ans. Isang operation yan. Gawin mo yung addition. Isang operation yan. Ibalik mo yung sagot sa ans. That's another operation. There's actually several operations. Okay, and the other thing is, because of the way Python works, may translation pa actually yan na nangyayari. So, this is actually a lot slower than it suggests in Python. Okay? I won't go into the reasons why Python is slower than C++. That's a deep subject. Pero, or why Python is so slow. Pero, for practical purposes, itong gagawin natin. Okay? Hindi 10 to the 9 yung i-consider nating number of operations that you can do. Okay? If you're working in Python, you should pretend that your computer can do 10 to the 7 Python operations per second. Okay? In C++ or Java, you should pretend that your computer can do 10 to the 8 C++ or Java operations per second. Okay, how do we use this? Well, tingnan natin yung code. Okay, anong nangyayari sa code na to? Okay, ano ba ibig sabihin ng operation? An operation is a small basic thing that your computer is doing. Like for example, mag-add ng one number. Okay? Isipin mo kung gusto mo malaman ano yung operation. Ano yung single operation na pwedeng gawin na instant. Like, imagine mo, let's say, tao yung mag-run ng program na yan. Ano yung kaya niyang gawin instantly? Okay, except siguro, genius siya, kaya niyang mag-add ng 10-digit numbers na mabilis. Okay? Pero, basically, ganun. So, titingnan mo, okay, pag tao yung nag-run ng program ito, anong gagawin niya? Mag-ans plus equals 1 siya, but it will do it 1 at a time. It will do it n minus I minus 1 times. And then, it will do this entire thing n times. So actually, pwede nating sabihin ito ay one operation. Every time na pumasok yung loop at nag-run yung ans plus equals 1, sabihin natin, sige, one operation yon. Pero, anong mangyayari? This operation will repeat n minus I minus 1 times. Okay, and then this whole loop will repeat n times. Okay? So, what does it mean? Ano bang nangyayari dito? Well, switch back here. Okay. Okay, sige, para padaliin ng konti, let's change the problem a little bit. Let's say ganun lang siya. Okay, tapos wala yan. Okay, and then let's estimate how fast or how slow this program is. So ano mangyayari? This loop will actually do about n operations. Okay, tapos, anong mangyayari? Uulitin yung loop na yan for n times. So actually, yung buong program is going to take about n squared operations to complete. Ngayon, dito papasok yung constraints. May constraint tayo na yung n pwedeng umabot ng 10 to the 12. Okay, ano ibig sabihin? Kung yung program na yan, n squared yung operations na gagawin. Ito yung maximum possible input, di ba? So kung gusto mong maintindihan kung kung bakit mabagal ang isang program, i-test mo siya dun sa input na worst possible scenario or the thing that will make your program as slow as possible. So kung ano yung maximum possible n, yun yung magpapadami ng number of operations. So let's try to understand anong nangyayari sa case na yan. Okay? Bakit natin ginagawa yan? Kasi masyadong mahirap i-analyze lahat ng cases one by one. So usually you just look at ano yung maximum case. So kung 10 to the 12 yung n at n squared yung operations ng program natin, ilan yung operations na kailangan pag 10 to the 12 yung input? Okay, can someone tell me? Someone tell me in the chat, ano yung number of operations? Kung yung program natin, n squared operations yung ginagawa, yung ipapagawa sa computer ay n squared operations. Tapos yung n ay 10 to the 12. Ibig sabihin, how many operations will the computer do if we run this program and give it n equals 10 to the 12 as input? Okay, so may sagot tayo from Troy. 10 to the 24 operations. That's correct. Right? 10 to the 24 operations. Okay? Estimate lang yan. Okay? But estimate is good enough kasi hindi naman natin kailangan ng exact. Hindi naman natin kailangan exactly malaman, parang i-predict how much time is exactly taking. We just want to understand, is it fast or slow enough? So an estimate is good enough. So estimate about 10 to the 24 operations. How many operations did we say a computer can do? How many Python operations? Sabi natin, di ba? 10 to the 7 operations per second. Tapos, we need the computer to do 10 to the 24 operations. Therefore, how many seconds is the program going to run? Okay, paano malaman? Okay? Kung 10 to the 24 yung kailangan gawin ng computer, and it can only do 10 to the 7 per second, how many seconds will it need to do everything? Well, that's 10 to the 24 divided by 10 to the 7, right? Is the number of seconds. It's 10 to the 17 seconds. Okay. 10 to the 17 seconds. Ano yung 10 to the 17 seconds? Actually, pwede nyo i-google yan eh. Type nyo, 10 raised to 17 seconds to years. Anong makuha nyo? Well, I googled that and it says 3.16 times 10 to the 9 years. 3.16 times 10 to the 9 years? Buhay pa ba tayo nun? Can you even imagine? Is the Earth even still there after 10 to the 9 years? Okay, baka wala na yung Earth, wala na yung solar system. Yung computer nyo nandun pa rin, for some reason, buhay pa rin. Hindi pa rin tapos yung program nyo. Right? That's a very long time. Unimaginably long time. Okay, so definitely, hindi siya papasa in 1 second. Okay? So nagigets niya ba? Ganito mag NoiPH, ganito mag competitive programming. You have to worry about the efficiency. And pag nalaman niyo na kung bakit siyang TLE, now you have to be smart. Try to think of a way to make your solution more efficient. And how do we do that? Okay. Okay, so the first thing we can do is, oh, by the way, kanina pinakita ko na code ay ano yung mangyayari pag ito lang, right? Pag n lang. Okay, it turns out it's not gonna be that much different if you do this. Kasi, bakit? Well, we'll find out later. Essentially, the number of steps, approximately, the number of steps that this program needs is exactly what the answer is. So pag nalaman na natin yung answer for 10 to the 12, we'll know exactly na yun yung number of steps na kailangan ng program. Okay, so let's just finish solving the problem. Tapos pag lumabas na yung sagot for 10 to the 12, malalaman natin, ito actually yung number of steps na ginagawa nitong basic, straightforward program. Okay? Pero anyway, sige. If that's not clear, I'll explain again later. Pero pinakita ko na kanina ano yung isang step para gawin tong mas mabilis, right? You can do n minus I minus 1 instead. Kasi sayang, bakit ka mag-add one by one when you know exactly how many things you need to add? And addition is considered as a basic operation. So, and subtraction is also considered as a basic operation. So these will give you like 5 or so operations compared to roughly n operations that you would do with the for loop. Right, so mas mabilis yan, mas maganda. Okay? Ngayon, is this fast enough? Let's try. Well, actually, balik tayo dito. Tapos testing muna natin. Let's say 10 to the 6 lang. Okay, 10 to the 6 actually hindi pa rin kaya. You can compute this later. Homework for you. Try to understand bakit hindi pa rin kaya yung 10 to the 6 pag ito yung program natin. Okay, but let's move on. Let's say, ginawa kong ganyan. Okay, tapos testing natin. 10 to the 6. Okay na, di ba? Nakita nyo? May improvement, bumilis, naging instant yung answer for 10 to the 6. Bakit? Well, isa na lang yung for loop. That means, roughly speaking, we're doing about n operations now. And the n that I gave is 10 to the 6. So that means we're roughly doing 10 to the 6 operations with this program. 10 to the 7 yung kaya ng Python, di ba? So mabilis yan. So kayang-kaya, 10 to the 6. Right? Pero, anong mangyayari pag 10 to the 12? What do you think? Will we see the answer instantly or not if I run this program? Will it? What do you think? Okay, let's run it. Okay. Hindi kaya. Diba? Bakit? 10 to the 7 lang ang kaya per second. 10 to the 12 yan. So that means, how many seconds are we expecting this program to run for? 10 to the 12 divided by 10 to the 7. Right? Ano yung 10 to the 12 divided by 10 to the 7? That's 10 to the 5. Right? So 10 to the 5 seconds. Okay. Okay, it's not as bad as before. 1.1 days. Sige, okay, buhay pa tayo by the time yung program is finished. Pero tapos na yung contest, tapos na yung stream, everyone else moved on with their lives. Gumagalaw pa ba yung program nyo? Hindi natin alam. Tapos, wala pa rin yung sagot, right? It's too slow still. Okay? 24 hours, Virtual Horizon says, 24 hours is not that bad, sir. You can let the stream run for 24 hours. Well, maawa naman kayo sa akin. I need to sleep, you know. Uh, yeah. It's not practical. No one's gonna wait 24 hours for anything, right? Except maybe kung may bagong game tapos or something, whatever. Tapos may mga pipila sa labas for 24 hours. But, you know, for a program, you don't expect that. You don't want to like press login in Facebook, for example, and then wait for 24 hours to see your profile, right? No one wants that. Okay, so let's think about how are we going to improve this more. Yung kanina madali lang kasi yung itsura niya ganyan. Tapos madali lang malaman exactly how many times this loop will run. Right? Pero paano tong labas? Okay, medyo strange kasi the number of things that's added to ANS is not constant anymore. It now depends on what I is. Okay, so one good idea is if you don't know how to solve a problem just by staring at the code or staring at the problem, get your scratch paper out and see what's happening. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, what's happening here? So, when I is 0, what is n minus I minus 1? Well, it's just n minus 1, right? When I is 1, well, this is n minus 2, n minus 3, n minus 4, up to n minus 1, right? So what's n minus 1? Minus 1. Well, that's 0, right? Okay. So actually, what's happening? What are we adding to ANS? We're adding all the numbers from 0, 1, 0 plus 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus blah 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 plus n minus 1. Right? Is there a faster way to get this number? Okay, if we know what n is there a way to get this number faster? Okay, so some of you might have seen this before. Ito yung tinatawag na arithmetic sequence. Okay, but if you haven't seen it before, ganito siya. Okay, how do you add the numbers from 0 to, let's say, evil yung math teacher niyo sa school. Sinabi, okay, class, add all the numbers from 0 to 1,000. Kasi ang ingay ng class niyo. And then, nagalit yung teacher, sabi niya, okay, do something to shut up. Add all the numbers from 1 to 1,000. Okay? That's so annoying to do. And if you're smart, you don't want to do that. You want to just get do it fast, right? In fact, this is a true story. This happened to someone. Tapos, parang, not sure, 8 years old ata yung batang yun. Tapos, nagalit yung teacher sa school nila dahil maingay yung class. Tapos sabi, oy, add all the numbers from 0 to 1 to 100. Mga grade 2 students kasi 8 years old sila. Okay, and then, parang parang few seconds later, there's this guy na nakuha na yung sagot. Tapos nagulat yung teacher, tama, nakuha niya. Mabilis. How did he do it? Well, here's the trick. Sulat natin yung same sequence in reverse. N minus 1, n minus 2, n minus 3. Okay? All the way up to 0. Right? So, ano mangyayari? Well, let's see what happens if you try to add them up one by one vertically like this. 0 plus n minus 1 is n minus 1. Ito, n minus 1. Ito, n minus 1. And so on, n minus 1. Okay, so actually, kung ganito yung ina-add natin, right? This is easy. We're adding n minus 1 over and over again. We just now need to know how many times are we adding n minus 1. How many times are we adding n minus 1? Well, how many columns are there in this sequence? There's n of them, right? Okay, so in fact, yung total na yan ay n times n minus 1. Okay, tapos ano pa? Well, we added the same sequence twice, right? So this is actually twice the thing we need. So we divide by 2. This is exactly equal to that. Okay? So ito actually yung sagot. Right? There's another way to see this, which I think is nice. So let me share it. Let's say you're doing 0 plus 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. Okay, you can imagine a rectangle like this. Okay, just imagine it's evenly spaced. Sorry, I'm not so good at drawing. So, imagine it's evenly spaced. Tapos, let's shade in the region we want. So, 0 to. So, 0 i-shade ko dito. 1, tapos 2, tapos 3, tapos 4. Right? So, anong nangyayari dito? This is essentially like the area of this triangle. Right? What's the area of the triangle? Ano yung length? That's n. Ano yung width? Sorry. Baliktad. The length is n. The width is n minus 1. What's the area of a triangle? N times n minus 1 divided by 2. Right? Ang cool ng math, di ba? Gumagana yan. Parang hindi nyo in-expect, no? May triangle area. Okay, anyway, so balik tayo sa code ngayon. So that means, what's the answer now? N times n minus 1 divided by 2. Okay, and then we don't actually need this. Okay, let's run it. Okay, test muna natin na gumagana sa inputs, sa sample inputs. So 5, 10. Okay, that looks right. 10, 45. That looks right. 100. That looks right. Now, test natin, mabilis ba? Okay, what do you think? Will I get the answer instantly? Okay, yes, I got an answer instantly. Because this is only a few operations, and Python can do that. Your computer can do those Python operations very fast. Okay, but there's a problem here. Weird yung output, may E plus 23. Pero actually, dito pa lang parang may problema na eh. Pag 5, di ba, may 10.0. Naalala nyo, automatic yung judging, right? So the expected output is an integer. And it says so in the problem statement. Your output must print out an integer. Tapos may output format. And your program is expected to produce this output exactly as you see in the problem statement. So actually, mali yung 10.0. Kasi mali yung format. Hindi siya integer. Okay? So some people got tripped up by this. That's the reason. Okay, hindi pwedeng, kung 10 yung sagot, hindi pwedeng 10.0. Okay, there are some problems where this restriction is relaxed. You'll see them in the future. Pero for now, just think, automatic yung judging, hindi human yung tumitingin ng program nyo. Computer yung nagtetest. Hindi flexible yung computer. Pag nakita niya, oops, hindi nag-match yung outputs, mali agad yung program nyo. Okay, so how do you fix this? Well, one thing you might think will fix this is you do int ans. Right? So what will that do? Well, it will convert the answer to an int. So kung may decimal places yung sagot kanina, it will just remove those, tapos give you back the integer. Okay? Is this correct? Let's test it. Okay, it seems correct, right? Test natin sa 10 to the 12. Okay, ito yung sagot. Okay, that's a bit weird. Bakit? Ano yung n? 10? Anong ginagawa natin? N times n minus 1 divided by 2. We're expecting this to be a multiple of 10 to the 12. Diba? We're expecting 10 to the 12 times 10 to the 12 minus 1 divided by 2. It has to be a multiple of 10 to the 12. Right? So madaming 0, 0, 0 sa dulo dapat yung sagot. And then we divide by 2. So if we divide by 2, dapat 5 yung last digit. Diba? Any number that ends in 0, if you divide by 2, dapat 5 yung last digit. Pero may weird na nangyari dito. hindi 5 yung last digit ng sagot. Anong nangyari? Well, here's the thing. Wala talagang integers or wala talagang real numbers in real life. Real numbers are not real. Bakit? Well, at least in programming, real numbers are not real. Bakit? Kasi limited yung memory ng computer. Kung gusto mong mag-store ng pi sa computer, hindi pwede kasi infinite yung digits ng pi. Okay, the best thing that a computer can do is approximate numbers. So actually what's happening here is the number is so big that there's not enough, Python doesn't give enough memory to store this number. Okay, technically, ang nangyayari dito, this is what is called the floating point number. Okay, Python will look at this and see and say it's a floating point number. A floating point number you can think of as, it's basically an approximation of a real number. Pero approximation lang siya. So may mga digits sa dulo na baka mali. That's exactly what's happening here. This is an approximation of a number, the real answer that we want, but it's only an approximation. May mga maling stuff sa dulo. Okay? In fact, sige, may weird stuff na nangyayari dito in Python. There's actually two kinds of division in Python. There's single slash and double slash. Okay? Single slash in Python means floating point division. Okay, double slash means integer division. Okay, what's the difference between the two? Ang floating point division will first convert these into floating point numbers, right? So when I say, for example, 10 divided by 2, it's actually going to do this first. 10.0 divided by 10.2, right? So if I do, for example, 10 divided by 2, okay, let's do that in a different frame. Okay, you will get 5.0, even though the numbers that you started with are integers, because it will convert those first into floating point. Okay. Actually, let's try 10 divided by 3. So makita nyo, pag sinabi kong 10 divided by 3, it will actually print out some decimal places. And then you will notice yung dulo, mali. Right? Kasi approximation lang siya. Okay, in Python, there's this other thing called integer division. Ano yung difference? Yung integer division will do the division exactly, pero yung remainder tatapon niya. Okay, kaya may modulo, di ba? Kanina nakita natin. Kasi dalawa yung nangyayari sa division. You get the quotient and the remainder. Okay, so you can think of this as, ito yung division na natutunan nyo in grade 5 or grade 6 na may decimal points. Tapos ito yung division na natutunan nyo in grade 3 or grade 4 na ibigay nyo yung quotient and yung remainder. Okay? And the thing is, in Python, actually medyo smart yung Python. So Python, pag sinabi mong double slash, kahit limited yung memory ng computer, it will try its best to spend as much memory as it can to give you an exact answer. Okay, kaya in many cases, especially in competitive programming, if you want exact answers, you prefer to use this. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do. And we don't need that anymore kasi guaranteed na yung output if you do this double slash. Guaranteed integer yung output. Okay, so tama na, di ba? Parang it ends in 0, tapos 5 yung dulo. Hindi something weird. Okay, and then in fact, this is the correct solution for problem B. Okay, may comment si Gizmo sa YouTube. Sabi niya, buti na-clarify na in programming. Muntik na ako magsalita na real numbers are not real. Okay. Well, actually, sa real life, wala naman talagang real numbers, complex numbers ang reality, di ba? Pero anyway, sige, that's a side comment. Okay. There's some other things. Mga C++ and Java users, well, sorry, this problem was made to screw you. Kasi hindi to solvable in C++ or Java without some extra tricks. In C++ and Java, actually, may problems ka pa. May extra problems. May extra complications. Kasi in C++, you have long in C++, right? And long in Java. And the thing is, this goes back to hindi exacting representation ng numbers sa computers. In C++, 10 to the 64 lang. 2 to the 64, 2 to the 63 minus 1 actually. Yung maximum positive integer in long, and same with Java, right? And then let's try to print 2 to the 63 minus 1. Okay, that's actually way smaller than the required answer. So in fact, this answer will not fit in long in C++ or long in Java. Okay, so that's the thing when you're competing in C++ or Java. You have to worry a little bit more about how much can your data type actually fit. And in some cases, usually kasi int yung ginagamit nyo sa C++ or Java, if you're not careful, you will get wrong answer because of this exact issue. That int can only contain a limited number of limited sized integers. Yung long actually may limitations pa rin. Okay? Okay, don't worry. In most contests, hindi ganito. In most contests, you're not expected to deal with numbers bigger than the long limit in Java or C++. Okay, but yeah, this is a lesson for C++ and Java users. You have to think about how many digits can your numbers actually fit? Can your variables actually fit? Okay, so how would you solve this in C++ or Java? Ito minor note lang. Pero para fair, para hindi nyo namang sabihin, okay, madaya tong problem setter, imposible to in C++ or Java, masyadong pabor to Python. Well, in C++, you can actually use int 128. In Java, you can use big integer. If you haven't seen those before, Google nyo na lang. Okay? Pero anyway, it's not so important. You probably will not use them again very soon, or if at all in your life. Um, so that's a minor note. Okay, anyway, so kanina, okay, let's go back to one point I made earlier. Okay. Well, actually, since we're 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 kind of uh, going slow, hindi ko na masyadong i-explain. Pero kanina, di ba, ito lang yung binilang natin. Tapos sinabi natin approximately n squared operations yan. And it's slow. Okay, so homework question for you guys. Think about it. Bakit? Pag binalik natin yung tamang program, n minus I minus 1. Bakit kung ginawa natin ganyan, bakit mabagal pa rin? And ano yung approximate number of operations? Okay, so think about it. Why is it still slow even if you do this? Kasi may minus na something there, right? It should be a bit faster now, pero bakit parang mabagal pa rin? Okay, so that's problem B. Let's move to problem K, or problem C dahil walang K sa code forces. Okay, may mga comments. Yeah, may mga C++ failed me, and they're angry, and they're not. Yeah. Ganun talaga. Okay, so some people need to go. Yeah, sure. This stream's taking longer than I expected, but that's okay. Nag-enjoy naman yung mga nanonood, di ba? So anyway, as long as uh, I don't want to rush things so much. Mas maganda na in-explain ko ng maayos lahat. So I'll try to make this faster next time because this is also my first time streaming. Okay, but anyway, if you need to go, this video will be available in the YouTube channel and the Facebook page anyway, so you can always go back to it later and watch it at your own time. Okay, so let's go to problem K. So problem K is about changing time zones. Wait. I think many people got confused by this problem kasi maraming nangyayari. Tapos parang hirap i-code. Tapos ang daming tricks, ang daming bugs, hindi maayos. So may tip akong ibibigay sa inyo. Okay, sa totoo lang, walang masyadong tricks to problem to, except for the fact that madami lang talagang nangyayari. And you have to be careful when you code. What's the trick when the problem is like this. It's what we call implementation heavy problems. Kasi puro implementation, ang daming mong gagawin, ang daming rules, parang ang daming, yeah. The trick is, don't try to think about all the small steps that your program needs to do all at once. Right? What do I mean? Ito yung program nyo. Okay? This is what your program needs to do. And then let's say, for example, your program runs, ito yung start, ito yung end program. Don't think about all the small operations. Don't try to think about all of the small steps all at once. Parang, what do I mean by small step? Parang, oh, may modulo dyan, oh, may plus dyan, oh, may array access dyan, or may something. It's very hard to solve problems if you think like this. Parang babalik kayo sa pinaka small steps, or what we call the primitives in your programming language. Okay? Wag nyo muna isipin ano itsura ng code or ano yung lahat ng syntax na kailangan ko isulat para i-solve yung problem. Okay? Instead, mag-strategize muna kayo. Kasi sa totoo lang, yung kailangan yung gawin, yung solution is actually, you can express it in terms of a few bigger steps that you need to do first. Okay? And then you can think about your program like this. Okay, may big step muna dyan. Tapos may big step ulit. Okay? Tapos may big step ulit. Tapos, pag nahimay nyo na yung program into several big steps, tsaka nyo himayin into smaller steps. Okay? And then, in fact, kung mas complicated palalo yung program, gawin yung madaming layers. Himay nyo yung program into big steps, tapos may big steps, tapos may medyo, middle steps, small steps. Basta the point is, huwag nyo isipin lahat all the way down to the small steps. Huwag nyo isipin ng sabay-sabay. Masyadong magulo yan. Okay? And gugulo yung code nyo. Okay, let's do it for problem C. What do I mean exactly? Okay, let's look at how you would code this. Oops. So, ganito. Ano ba yung big steps na kailangan gawin sa problem na to? Well, first is read the input. Tapos, anong kailangan gawin? Well, may two ways para i-solve to, di ba? Parang first is convert to UTC. Okay, sabihin natin, convert from Philippine time to UTC. And then, convert from UTC to friend time. Tapos, print the output. Okay, notice, nagko-code na ako, pero actually, hindi naman code to eh. Parang outline lang ng anong kailangan kong gawin. At importante na gawin muna to. Kailangan malinaw muna in your head, what are the things you want to do? Parang in human language, what are the things you want to do? Huwag niyo muna isipin yung code. Magplano muna kayo. Right? And then you break down your program into smaller chunks like this first before breaking them down into further chunks. Okay, may isa pang way. You can also do something like this. Read the input. Find hours difference. Tapos, apply hours difference. Print the output. Okay? Something like this. Pero hindi ko napapakita because I think this is a bit harder or more bug prone. You can do, this is a bit easier. Okay? If you thought like this during the contest, later on, you can maybe think on your own how would you implement your solution. Okay, pero anyway, sige. So kung ganito, okay, actually, pwede nyo gawing totoong code to eh. Gawin nyo ganyan. Diba? Bakit? Ano na yan? Functions yan. Ito yung kailangan nyo gawin. Tapos, mag-define kayo ng functions. Para exactly kung ano yung inisip nyo, yun din yung code nyo. Pwede yan. Anong ginawa ko? Kinall ko muna yung functions na gusto kong call. Magically, I will just assume na nandyan na yung functions na yan. Tapos, kung nandyan na yung functions na yan, edi okay na, tapos na ako. Diba? Na-solve ko na yung problem. Tapos, mamaya ko na iisipin anong mangyayari sa loob ng function na yan. Okay, so that's the trick when you're doing implementation problems. Break it down into chunks like this. Wait, and then you notice, I'm not writing my code from top to bottom, left to right. That's not how you write code, right? You can jump around however you want. Type nyo muna ano yung big steps, tapos saka nyo pasok sa definition. Pasok kayo sa function, tsaka nyo i-define. Jump around. It's okay. No one says you have to write your code from top to bottom, left to right. Okay? Kung familiar kayo sa functions, maybe you would actually do this, and then it will make your code more organized, easier to read, easier to debug. Okay, kung hindi kayo masyadong sanay, okay lang, well, sige, mag-comment kayo muna, parang read the input. Okay, tapos isulat nyo dyan yung code nyo, blah, 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 mamaya. Pero mamaya na, comment nyo muna lahat ng gusto nyo gawin. Convert from PHP to UTC. Convert from UTC to friend. Okay, print the output. Okay? So, ganyan yung trick. Tapos, tsaka nyo na i-fill out. Okay, paano ba mag-read ng input? Well, may you can break this down further into, read the time. Tapos, read the time zone. Diba? Okay? Again, hindi ko muna inisip ano yung code exactly for read the input. Hindi ako nag-start by saying, A is equal to input. Huwag muna. Isipin nyo muna ano yung high-level steps na gagawin nyo. Okay, and then here, if you do it this style, mag-call lang kayo ulit ng function. Just assume that that function exists. Read the time. Okay, read the time zone. Okay? Di ba ang dali? Ang bilis kong naisip anong gusto kong gawin kasi hindi ko inisip lahat ng details all at once. I'm just thinking about what's the main step that I want to do first and then what's the next main step that I want to do. Tapos later ko na iisipin ano yung details. Paano mag-read the time? Paano mag-read the time zone? Mamaya na yan. Right? Okay? Tapos ganun ulit. Gawin nyo ulit dito. Okay, and so on. Okay, syempre medyo exage to. Parang you probably will not actually write code like this na ang exage naman may read the time zone, read the input. I'm just demonstrating that you might do it this way, especially pag mas mahirap na yung problems at maraming steps. Kailangan nyo maghimay ng maraming layers. And this is how you would do it. Okay? So, I'm not going to spend the time to fully discuss how to solve this problem from scratch kasi baka masyadong matagal. Tsaka magandang practice para sa inyo para kayo mismo ang mag-discover at mag-solve ng problem on your own from scratch. Okay, pero binigyan ko lang kayo ng advice how to tackle the problem para alam nyo na ano yung technique para hindi kayo masyadong mahilo. Tapos, try nyo i-solve on your own using this strategy. Start with bigger chunks, bigger main steps first, tsaka nyo himayin yung details. Huwag nyo isipin lahat ng details sabay-sabay. Right? Okay, the thing that I will say is, may mga tricks sa problem na to that you need to think about. And magandang practice ito for thinking about, well, ano yung cases na posibleng magpapasabog ng program ko. Like, for example, may 12 p.m. sa problem na to. Ano ba yung 12 p.m.? Ano ibig sabihin ng 12 p.m.? This 12 p.m. comes after 11 a.m., right? And then after 12 p.m., we have 1 p.m. So think carefully about yung edge cases na yun. Parang when you move from AM to PM, tama ba yung pag-handle nyo? When you move from PM to AM, tama ba yung pag-handle nyo? Stuff like that. And also, you need to be careful. May mga negative time zones. Baka naging negative yung time nyo, mali yun. Baka naging greater than 12 kasi nag-add kayo ng time. Naging 13 p.m. or something, mali yun. Okay? So, a good programmer will think about all the possible cases that might make your program fail and make sure na tama lahat. Okay? So, ang advice ko dito is mag-testing kayo ng mag-testing. Try many different cases. Isipin nyo lahat ng possible cases. 12 p.m. tapos let's say you need to add hours. Tapos let's say 1 a.m. tapos subtract hours. Okay? May mga cases na tricky, di ba? Kapag nag-subtract ka from 1 a.m., dapat PM yung sagot, tapos dapat hindi negative. Pag nag-add ka to 12 p.m., dapat AM, tapos dapat hindi lampas ng 12. Stuff like that. Okay? One other tip for this problem is actually inconvenient yung time system na ginagamit natin eh. Parang 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Tapos 1. That's actually not the most convenient way to think about time. Mas maganda actually yung 24-hour system. Kasi bakit? Sa 24-hour system, anong nangyayari? 0, yung 12 o'clock ay 0 o'clock. Tapos 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, diba? Dito ang pangit, may PMs, may AM pa. Tapos parang, ano yung PM, ano yung AM? Gulo-gulo. So 24-hour system goes all the way from 0 o'clock to 23 o'clock. And then after 23 o'clock, 0 o'clock again. And it's very nice because it's very regular. There's no AM, PM that you need to deal with. And then the other thing is, naalala nyo yung modulo from problem A? You can deal with yung overflow to the next day or underflow to the previous day using modulo. Okay? For example, pag sabihin natin 16 o'clock in 24-hour system. 16 o'clock plus 10 hours. Anong mangyayari? 26 o'clock. Anong dapat yung sagot? Well, 16 o'clock. Sige, isipin natin. 16 o'clock is 4 p.m. Right? 10 hours later from 4 p.m. is what? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 2 a.m. Right? So, dapat 2 a.m. Tama ba yun? Yes, I think that's right. Tingnan nyo, mahirap isipin, di ba? Parang nag-switch ako from PM to AM, tapos 4 naging 2. Anyway, what's 2 a.m. in 24-hour system? That's 2. right? Just 2 o'clock. Okay, let's just do. Okay. 16 plus 10 is 26. Pero notice something. What do I do pag lumampas na ako ng 1 day? I can just subtract by 24 and I get the correct time. So if I subtract by 24, okay, I get 2, which is the correct time. So in code, you would do something like this. Parang yung original hours mo, if you're using the 24-hour system, you would do something like this. Hour now plus hour diff. And then if you say mod 24, you automatically get the right thing. Right? Kung pabaliktad, ganun din. So actually, let's say, gawin natin 4 a.m. Tapos minus 10 hours. So sa 24-hour system, if I go back 10 hours from 4 a.m., okay, what do I get? 3, 2, 1, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6 p.m. Okay, sa 24-hour system, what do I do? 24 minus 10 is negative 6. Okay, pero ano yung negative 6? Pag nag-mod 24 ka, mag-a-add ako ng 24. So this is actually is equal to negative 6 plus 24. It's 18. But it's very convenient. So if I do this hour now minus hour diff of 24, okay lang, gagana pa rin siya. Even though our diff is negative. Okay lang yan. Okay? That is if you're using Python. Okay? In C++ and Java, kailangan nyo medyo mag-ingat. Kasi pag negative yung mod, negative yung dividend, tapos nag-mod kayo sa C++ or Java, negative yung makuha nyo. So you have to take some, be extra careful if you're C++ or Java. Kaya ako nire-recommend yung beginners na Python muna. Kasi less tricky mag-program in Python. Okay, so in Python, you don't have to worry about that. You just take the mod, it will do the right thing. Okay, and then you have to deal with the minutes, but you can figure that out, right? You know exactly what you need to do. It's the same thing. Meron kayong, pag nag-wrap around kayo, lampas ng 60 yung minutes. Pag bumalik kayo, pag nag-atras kayo, lumampas sa 0, okay, you know what to do there, right? It's exactly the same thing, except it's mod 60. Okay, so ano yung point? The point is not so much na mag 24-hour time tayo lahat, although that's a good idea actually. Dapat obsolete na yung AM/PM system by now. That's really hard to use. Nasanay lang tayo, pero sa totoo lang pangit siya. The point I really want to make is, pag nagpo-program kayo, one thing you can do is try to think of ways para hindi masyadong bug prone yung susulat yung program. Try to think of nice ways to reduce the number of cases you have to deal with. Right? Sa 24-hour system, you don't really have to think about a lot of cases. The formula is always the same. It's always this. And it works for whatever. Sa AM/PM, ang dami yung kailangan isipin, right? May cases, pag lumampas ng PM, naging AM, yung AM naging PM. gulo, right? So in the future, when you encounter a problem, before jumping into the code, actually, maging smart kayo. Yung mga mas advanced na medyo mas sanay na mag-program, kailangan nyo nang gawin to. Ito yung next step nyo. Isipin nyo paano, paano isulat yung program in the nicest way possible. Okay, so kanina pinag-usapan natin, dapat tama yung program, dapat efficient. Actually, importante din to parang isipin nyo, what will make the code look as nice as possible? Kasi when you code as nice as possible, madali siyang basahin, mas mahirap magkaroon ng bugs, and overall, you will just feel much nicer when you're writing your programs. You won't feel that it's painful. Kasi hindi naman siya painful talaga as long as if you're smart, right? If you do the right thing, isip nyo, I don't have to do this messy thing. I can reduce the number of cases if I do this instead. Okay? Okay, so my comments from Virtual Horizon says, this question was hard. Yes, it's kind of hard if you don't know how to deal with it. But hopefully this stream has given you some tips on how to deal with it. And then after this stream, maybe you try to solve it again. Hopefully it doesn't feel as hard anymore. And then the next time when you see a hard problem like this, hindi ka na matatakot. It's actually not that hard if you just know how to do it, how to deal with it. Okay? All right. So, one last problem. Problem D. Malapit na. Okay, so actually, ano ba yung problem sa problem D? Problem D is about you're given this system, river system, and you want to figure out, is this system connected to this other river system? Will water from this first river, is this river connected to this other river? So will water from this first river ever reach this other river? And you need to answer questions like those. And then the thing is, that makes this problem hard is, nagbabago yung river system. The river that you flow to can change. So how do we deal with this problem? Well, sa totoo lang, yung sinabi ko kanina still applies for this problem. Okay? Don't try to think about all the steps. Think about the big steps that you need to do first, and then the smaller steps later on. Okay, pero may trick yung problem na to. Parang, okay, ano ba muna yung big steps natin? Well, you're given the data about the river system. So maybe your first step one is get the river system. Number two is you're given this list of changes. So get the changes. Okay, so what makes this problem a bit hard is you're not supposed to apply the changes immediately. Or you have to be a bit smart about how you do it. Kasi may step 3, diba, which is answer the questions. And then how do you answer the questions? Well, naka-shuffle yung questions. Diba yung questions may time? A, B. Ito yung itsura ng question, diba? Tapos may time. Tapos naka-shuffle yung questions. The time can be in any order. The questions can be in any order. Right? So, you basically need to know what the river system looks like at every given point in time. And then when it's time to answer a question, dapat nandun yung parang meron kang version 0, version 1, version 2. Dapat i-save mo yung version T ng river system for every moment in time. Kasi baka kailangan mo sila eh. And then, when it's time to answer a question, well, you need to have that version. So, kung yung time ay 2, you need to have that version 2 of the river system somewhere so that you can answer the question properly. So, the wrong thing to do is apply all the changes at once. Tapos wala na, hindi mo na alam paano isagot yung question for time t. Kasi wala na, sinira mo na yung river system. Okay, so that's the plan. So, actually, let's clean it up. Ito yung plan. This is how you solve the problem. Get the river system. Okay, get the changes. Tapos, make all the versions of the river systems from the changes. Okay? Kailangan save mo silang lahat. Right? And then, answer the questions. Okay, and how do you answer the question? Get the right version. And then, check if A can go to B in that version. Diba? So, yan, mag-plan muna tayo ano yung gagawin. Okay? And again, I'm not going to discuss this in much detail anymore kasi pag umabot na kayo sa problem D, it means sanay na kayong gawin ito dapat. And hopefully, alam niyo na paano i-solve yung problem from here on. Okay, there's something that I just want to say for those who are just starting and you're wondering about this problem. There are some nice things about this problem. So, ano ba yung river system na yan? Okay? Actually, may nice way para i-drawing yung river system eh. Okay? Yung circle na yan, imagine mo isang river. So, ano yung sample natin? Actually, sige, gamitin natin yung sample. Okay, meron tayong Cagayan River sa taas. Tapos, merong Magat River. Tapos, may Chico River that flows into Cagayan. Tapos, yung Magat, merong Ibulao. at a limit, diba? Tapos, wala yan. Okay? So, this is one way you can draw the system para mas magets mo ano nangyayari. Kasi hindi naman importante ano yung shape ng river, diba? Para malaman kung river A flows to river B. Hindi importante ano yung shape ng river, ano yung position nila sa map. So, the thing we do in computer science is make an abstract, like drawing or representation of the system. And ito ang tinatawag, this kind of drawing is what we call a tree in computer science. Okay? Tree kasi pag binaliktad mo yung drawing ko, mukha siyang puno, di ba? Ang tawag dito ay root. Tapos, parang imagine mo, puno siya, may branches going upward. For some weird reason, baliktad mag-drawing ng trees yung computer scientist. Pero, anyway, ganun siya. Okay, so the problem is really, may extra steps, yung keeping the versions and making sure you get the right version with every question. But the problem essentially is really just, okay, I have a tree. I want to know, meron akong river A, meron akong river B. Yung river B ba ay nandun sa, pag finalo ko yung path pataas, yung river B ba ay nandun sa taas. Okay, ang formal word na ginagamit ng computer scientist ay ancestor. Is B, the thing we want to answer this problem is B an ancestor of A? Right? Bakit ancestor ang tawag? Kasi parang imagine mo, parang family tree ito, tapos ito yung mga anak niya, ito yung mga anak. So, yeah, ancestor, and then descendants. So, someone up the tree from you is your ancestor, and then someone down in your tree is your descendant. Okay? How do you check if someone is your ancestor? Okay, well, the thing that is given to you in the input is meron kang way to know this is the data that's given to you. River A's parent is river B. Okay, so the thing that would be nice is mag-store ka ng table na ganito yung tsura. Parang okay, parent, or meaning ano yung river that your river flows into, right? So, meron tayong Bulao, okay, and so on. And then anong mangyayari pag binago natin yung versions ng river? Well, kopyahin mo muna yung table para hindi masira yung lumang version, tapos baguhin mo. Right? And then paano sumagot ng question? Pulutin mo yung table. And then what do you do? If you know your parent, how do you check if someone is your ancestor? Well, there are several ways to do this. One thing you can do is, you can write a loop. You can say, okay, mag-loop ako as long as I still have a parent. Keep going up. Tapos, check ko, natamaan ko ba si river B at some point. Pag natamaan ko, edi, okay, ancestor ko siya. The answer is yes. Otherwise, anong mangyayari? Well, you loop upwards and then you hit the river that flows into the sea. So, wala na siyang parent. Tapos, hindi mo nakita si river B. Dinaw yung sagot. Right? So, that's one way of doing it. There's one issue that we need to discuss. How do you represent this table in code? Well, actually, may fancy ways, pero next time ko na i-discuss yung fancy way. May not so fancy way, which is, itong gawin nyo. Imbis na yung name ng river, bigyan nyo ng number. So, river 0, si Bulao, in the order that they appear in the input. Right? River 1, si Alimit. River 2 is Magat. Yung river 3 ay Chico. River 4 ay Cagayan. Okay? Tapos, ang gagawin kong list sa Python or array. Kasi anong itsura ng list? Gumawa ko ng list na ganito. Magat, Cagayan, tapos none, kasi walang parent si Cagayan. Okay, ano ibig sabihin ng list na yan? Yung position I dyan sa list will store the parent of river I. Okay? Tapos gawa ka pa ng isang list. Ano yung pangalan ng rivers? So, ano yung pangalan ng rivers? Bulao, Limit, Magat, Chico, Cagayan. So, basically, just store two columns. Store the two columns separately. Tapos, paano mo malalaman sino yung parent ng isang river? Well, hanapin mo yung index niya sa first list. Tapos, tingnan mo yung same index sa second list. Right? For example, if you want to know what's the parent of Magat, find the index of Magat in this first list, that's 2. And then access the second position in the second list. So, you know, the parent of Magat is Cagayan. So, yan, one trick para gawin yung para mag-represent ng table. Okay, it's not the best way to represent the table. We'll talk more about that next time. But it will do for now. Actually, maliit lang yung constraints sa problem na to. So you can almost not really worry about efficiency in this problem. Maybe you need to think about it a little bit kung medyo sagad yung solution mo at nagtitiyali ka. Pero for the most part, if you just implement it correctly, you should get accepted. Okay? Hindi gaano ka-important yung efficiency in this problem. Okay? There's one more thing I want to say, which is may nice way actually para gawin yung ancestor thing na yan, para hindi ka mag-while loop or okay, may trick kang pwedeng gawin. Let's say, mag-define tayo ng function to check, is A an ancestor of B? Well, one thing you can do is mag-while loop ka, pero sabi ko, di ba, huwag natin gawin yan. Pwede mo actually gawin to. Okay, anong ginawa ko? Nagsulat ako ng tinatawag na recursive function or recursion. Okay, ano ibig sabihin ng recursive definition? It means ginamit mo yung sarili mo in your definition. Okay, parang strange, no? Pero let's think about it. Actually, ito lang naman yung main logic eh. Someone is your ancestor if they are your parent or they are an ancestor of your parent. Okay, so may extra checks dito kasi pwedeng non yung parent. Pero ito yung simple version actually. Ito yung simple version. And then, medyo mas complicated yung actual code kasi kailangan mo, you need to deal with the cases na A is equal to B and may walang parent. Pero, essentially, ito yung logic. Tapos, mas malinis yung logic, di ba? Parang, imagine mo, paano natin in-explain yung while loop version ng solution. Sabihin natin, okay, mag-loop tayo, tapos hakbang ka isa-isang beses papunta sa ancestor. If you hit the ancestor, then yes. Otherwise, no. Mas maraming words yung ginamit ko to explain that solution. Okay, this solution is a bit simpler or a bit more elegant, if you will. Okay? Ancestor siya kung parent ko siya or ancestor siya ng parent ko. Diba? Simple. Tapos, medyo weird na ginagamit natin yung ancestor sa definition ng ancestor. But it makes sense, right? Parang, paano mo mag-express ng repetition to a computer or even to a human? If you want to say to someone, do this thing over and over again. Okay? Sa human language, meron tayong, di ba, parang repeat this thing 5 times. Or repeat this thing until something happens. Diba? Okay, medyo yan yung mas common ways para mag-express ng repetition in human language. That's why it feels like pag nag-while loop tayo or for loop, medyo mas intuitive, right? But actually, there's another way, and it's the most general way out of all the ways you have to express repetition. And it is to do something, do one step, and then do it again. Okay. It's smaller into it. Okay, pero, wait. Ito yung main logic. Do something and then to do something, do one step, and then do that thing again. That's exactly what we're doing here, right? To know if someone is your ancestor, okay, let's do some logic for one step, and then let's repeat everything. Okay, and then if you think about it, medyo kamukha niyan yung while loop, diba? Parang yung while loop ganito, parang while condition, do something, tapos do it again. Parang anong nangyayari sa while loop? You do something, tapos balik ka sa taas, tapos do it again, balik ka sa taas. Medyo pareho, di ba? Pero iba yung way natin para i-express yung repetition. Ang tawag dito ay recursion. Okay? Recursion is we use the same function inside its definition. Okay, I'm not going to be able to explain recursion in detail right now. maybe we'll do a video of that someday in the Noy page, in the Noy YouTube channel. But for now, kung curious kayo, i-google nyo to. I'm pretty sure makakahanap kayo ng magandang tutorials sa internet about recursion. Maybe, if you're interested in the detail of how do you write recursion in code. Pero yung main idea ay ganito. You have a different way to express a repetitive process. And that way is, the things you already know are using loops. This other way of expressing repetitive processes is use the same function inside its definition. That's called recursion. Okay, bakit maganda yung recursion? Bakit importante yung recursion? Kasi there are some things that are easier to describe using recursion. Like, nakita nyo dito sa ancestor, di ba? Parang mas malinis talaga if you just say it using recursion. Okay? And then, let me say one other thing. Baguhin natin ang problem ng konti. Let's say, ginawa kong, imbis na isa yung ancestor dun sa tree, pwedeng madaming rivers. Okay, let's say, nagbago ng konti yung problem. Anong binago ko sa problem? Let's say, imbis na isa lang yung river na pinupuntahan ng bawat river, may let's say, madami na. Right, tas gulo-gulo na yan. Mas magulo yung river system. Paano mo isa-solve yung same problem? Okay, does A reach B? How do you solve this same problem using a loop? Ang gulo, di ba? Ang hirap isipin. Sa recursion, anong babaguhin mo? Instead of saying, is B the ancestor of my parent? Ang gagawin mo lang, ancestor ba siya ng lahat ng parent? For every parent that I have, is it an ancestor of any one of them? Right? Ganito sa real life, di ba? Gusto mo malaman, ancestor mo ba isang tao? Well, it's either the ancestor of your mom or the ancestor of your dad. So, actually, kung recursion yung solution mo, medyo mas madaling baguhin yung solution to deal with this case, to deal with this slightly harder version of the problem. Anong gagawin mo? Right? Simple change lang. Instead of checking just for one parent, ancestor ba siya, check mo for all parents. Tapos na. Right? Isipin nyo paano yung gagawin sa while loop. Gulo, di ba? Parang hindi nyo maisip. Okay, actually may way, pero next time na natin i-discuss kung paano yun. Okay, for now, mas maganda na recursion yung gamitin nyo. Okay, well, you don't really need recursion for this problem, but it's a good starter problem, maybe, to practice how to write recursive programs. You can solve this problem even without recursion. You can just use for loops or while loops. Okay lang. Kung hindi nyo masyadong na-gets, okay lang. We'll definitely see this again. This is a very important idea in computer science, not just in competitive programming. In computer science, almost all of computer science is recursion, basically, or some version of some variant of recursion. Okay. So let me check. Meron pa bang comments? Okay. Okay? Maybe you're wondering bakit gumagana tong recursion. If you understand how functions work and you know how to simulate what the computer is doing when it's executing functions, then you can simulate recursive functions and it basically works the same way. Pero dahil yun nga, same yung function na kinocall mo, the effect is it's going to repeat the same thing over and over again. Okay, I have one last comment and then we can end. Challenge para dun sa mga sanay na mag-competitive programming. Yung mga sumali na veterans na ng NoyPH, solve this problem when N, Q, and E are 10 to the 5. Okay? Interesting. Interesting problem to actually kung 10 to the 5 lahat ng bounds. Pero hindi siya ganun ka-original kaya hindi siya lalabas sa NoyPH. Okay. Kung may final questions pa kayo, tanong nyo na. Dumidilim na, gabi na. But if you still have final questions, I'll answer them. Pero kung wala na, I'll end the stream. Okay, sana nag-enjoy kayo. Sana marami kayong natutunan. At sana sumali pa rin kayo sa next ABaKoDa rounds at sa mga live stream natin. Don't forget to like our Facebook page, subscribe to our YouTube channel, join our Discord kung high school student kayo. Join our Discord, tingnan nyo sa website namin paano mag-join. Actually, email nyo lang yung name nyo at school, name, grade level, and school. If you're a high school student and want to join the Discord, email nyo sa ask@noy.ph. Okay? So may konting delay, so I'm waiting for a few seconds for the comments to show up kung may final questions. Okay, pero kung wala na, I'll end the stream soon. Okay, mukhang wala ng questions, pero kung meron pa, comment lang kayo sa Facebook. Actually, comment kayo dito sa YouTube pag nag-upload na yung video. Comment kayo, pwede kaming sumagot. Pag nasa Discord kayo, you can just ask us anytime. We'll answer your questions. Kung na-stuck kayo sa mga problems na to, gusto niyo ng tulong, you just ask. There are nice people in the Discord server who will help you. Okay, that's all for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. See you again next week. Bye.